Hotel kicks out black janitor. The next day, a billionaire's helicopter arrives at the hotel. The gleaming glass facade of the Pinnacle Grand Hotel rose 50 stories into the Manhattan skyline, catching the morning sunlight like a crystal monument to luxury. Mercedes and Bentleys pulled up to the entrance in a steady stream, depositing well-heeled guests who barely glanced at the uniformed staff holding doors and collecting luggage. Among the bustling morning crowd stood Marcus Johnson, 45, watching the spectacle with observant eyes. He carried nothing but a worn leather satchel and wore simple khakis with a navy button-down, deliberately understated. The contrast between his modest appearance and the opulence surrounding him couldn't have been starker. "Ready for this?" came a voice from his phone. Marcus smiled slightly. "Not my first rodeo, Victor." "No, but it might be our most important one," replied Victor Hale, whose net worth of $18.4 billion made him one of the most powerful venture capitalists in the country. What the business world didn't know was that Victor had a secret method for evaluating potential investments in the service industry. He sent in Marcus, his oldest friend and most trusted advisor, undercover. "The Pinnacle Group wants $200 million to expand internationally," Victor continued. "Before I write that check, I need to know what kind of operation they're really running when the cameras aren't rolling." Marcus nodded, though Victor couldn't see him. 2 weeks as a janitor coming up. I'll be your eyes and ears. Just be careful. These luxury places can be complicated. I grew up in Southside Chicago and survived being the only black kid at Princeton. I can handle complicated," Marcus replied with a quiet confidence born from decades of navigating spaces not designed for him. He ended the call and squared his shoulders. The resume he'd submitted for the janitorial position contained just enough of his real background, a business degree and work experience, carefully downplayed to seem like someone who'd hit hard times. The Pinnacle had been desperate to fill positions before a major investment summit, and they'd hired him without asking too many questions. Exactly as planned? "Johnson! You're late on your first day?" Marcus checked his watch. He was actually 7 minutes early, but the woman glaring at him from behind the employee check-in desk clearly operated on different time. Her badge read, "Christine Winters, Staff Coordinator." "My apologies, ma'am. I'm Marcus Johnson, reporting for the janitorial position." Christine's eyes narrowed as she gave him a once-over, lingering on his face with thinly veiled disapproval. "HR must be desperate these days," she muttered, just loud enough for him to hear. She slid a uniform and a badge across the counter. "Orientation was supposed to start 5 minutes ago. Follow me." As they walked through the labyrinthine back corridors of the hotel, Marcus noticed how the plush carpets and elegant wallpaper of the guest areas gave way to bare concrete and fluorescent lighting. 2 worlds separated by a door marked "Staff Only." The employee break room contained a small group of new hires, 2 room attendants, a kitchen porter, and another janitor. The other janitor, an older Latino man named Eduardo, gave Marcus a friendly nod. Christine's demeanor changed dramatically when addressing the group. Her voice took on a practiced, corporate pleasantness. "Welcome to the Pinnacle Grand, the crown jewel of luxury hospitality on the East Coast. You are now representatives of an establishment that caters to celebrities and royalty." Her gaze swept over them. "Some of you will be visible to our guests. Others will not. But remember, any failure reflects on all of us." The orientation consisted of a slick corporate video, followed by a rapid-fire list of rules and regulations. Marcus noted how the video featured smiling employees of various backgrounds, but a quick glance around the actual management offices he'd passed revealed a very different reality. "Janitorial staff, you'll report to Mr. Harrington," Christine concluded, pointing toward a balding man with a perpetual frown. "He's your direct supervisor." Harrington barely acknowledged the introduction, continuing to scroll through his phone. When he finally looked up, his expression hardened upon seeing Marcus. "New guy, huh? Follow me. I'll show you where we keep the real workers." Marcus caught Eduardo's sympathetic glance as they followed Harrington down a service corridor and into the basement level. The janitorial quarters were a stark contrast to the luxury upstairs, a cramped room with lockers, cleaning supplies stacked haphazardly, and a bulletin board covered with notices and schedules. The air smelled of industrial cleaners and mildew. Locker 23 is yours. Combination is March 5th, 15, Harrington said, tossing Marcus a set of master keys. You'll be responsible for the East Wing, floors 20 through 25. That's executive suites and premium rooms, so if anything goes missing. He let the implication hang in the air. I understand, sir, Marcus replied evenly. I doubt it, Harrington muttered. Eduardo can show you the ropes. I'm needed upstairs where important things are happening. After Harrington left, Eduardo approached with a warm smile. Don't mind him. He treats everyone like garbage, but especially. He trailed off. Black employees? Marcus finished for him. Eduardo nodded. Been here 8 years. Nothing changes at the top, but we look out for each other down here. He extended his hand. Eduardo Vasquez. Marcus Johnson. They shook hands. 8 years is a long time. Got a daughter at NYU. Medical school. This job pays the bills and has health insurance. Eduardo's pride was evident. Worth putting up with the Harringtons of the world. As Eduardo showed him around, Marcus observed the distinct social hierarchies of the hotel. When they passed front desk staff, the employees barely acknowledged the janitors. When an assistant manager walked by, Eduardo practically pressed himself against the wall to get out of the way. That's Mr. Blake, Eduardo whispered. Regional Operations Director. Worst of the bunch. Treats us like we're invisible unless something needs cleaning. Then suddenly we exist just long enough to be yelled at. Throughout the day, Marcus meticulously noted every interaction in the mental ledger he would later record for Victor. He observed how the marketing team swept through the lobby in designer outfits, loudly discussing strategy while ignoring the housekeeping staff struggling with heavy linen carts. He watched a front desk manager berate a young bell attendant for a minor uniform infraction while guests waited. But he also witnessed something else: the underground network of mutual support among the service staff. A cook sneaking leftover pastries to the maintenance team. Housekeepers covering for each other during family emergencies. The invisible threads of community beneath the hotel's polished surface. During his lunch break, Marcus sat alone in the corner of the employee cafeteria, observing. The seating arrangements told their own story: management at tables near the windows, housekeeping clustered together speaking Spanish and Haitian Creole, maintenance and security sharing jokes in the middle of the room. Mind if I join you? A young woman with a food service uniform set her tray down across from him. Her name tag read, Amara. Please, Marcus gestured to the empty chair. First day? She asked. Marcus nodded. That obvious? You're still looking around like you're trying to figure the place out, she said with a knowing smile. Most people either have the deer in headlights look or they're already defeated. You're just observing. Marcus returned her smile. Just trying to learn the landscape. Well, quick lesson. Amara leaned forward, lowering her voice. The landscape is beautiful for guests and ugly for us. And if you're like us, she gestured between her brown skin and his, it's even uglier. Before Marcus could respond, a commotion erupted near the entrance. A group of suited executives entered, led by a silver-haired man whose commanding presence immediately silenced the room. That's Gerald Phillips, the CEO, Amara whispered. Word is he's bringing in some big investor soon. That's why everyone's on edge. Marcus watched as Phillips surveyed the cafeteria with the detached interest of a man inspecting livestock. For a split second, their eyes met, and Marcus felt a chill. There was no warmth there, no recognition of shared humanity, just calculation. Johnson! Harrington's voice cut through the silence. Break's over. There's a mess on 24 that needs immediate attention. As Marcus stood to leave, Amara whispered, Welcome to the Pinnacle, where we're all just part of the furniture. Later that night, in his modest apartment in Queens, Marcus meticulously recorded his first day's observations in an encrypted report for Victor. He detailed the management structure, the treatment disparities, the quiet competence of the lower-level staff contrasted with the performative busywork of middle management. His phone rang just as he finished. "Well?" Victor's voice came through. "First impressions?" Marcus sighed. "They've got a beautiful operation on the surface. The guests see perfection. But underneath?" He paused. "It's rotten, Victor. The kind of place that sees people like me as tools, not humans. The executives collect bonuses while the people actually making the hotel function can barely make rent." "Exactly what I feared," Victor replied. "Keep digging. I need concrete examples, specific incidents. Phillips and his board are excellent at presenting what investors want to see." "Oh, I'll get you what you need," Marcus promised, a quiet determination in his voice. "They have no idea who they're really dealing with." As he ended the call, Marcus glanced at the photo on his bedside table. Himself and Victor at graduation, young and full of dreams, before life had taken them on such different paths. Only to bring them back together for moments like this. He smiled slightly. The Pinnacle's management saw only a janitor when they looked at him. Their mistake would cost them $200 million. By the end of his first week, Marcus had settled into a routine that was both exhausting and enlightening. He arrived at 6 a.m., cleaned executive suites before their occupants awoke, maintained the East Wing corridors during the day, and finished with the conference rooms after evening events. Despite his education and natural intelligence, he performed each task meticulously, building a mental catalog of the hotel's operations. What he hadn't anticipated was the casual cruelty. "Hey Shakespeare, you missed a spot," sneered Blake, the operations director, pointing to an already spotless section of marble flooring. Marcus had made the mistake of using vocabulary above his station when suggesting a more efficient cleaning schedule. "Trying to impress us with your big words? Just stick to what you know, pushing a mop." Marcus lowered his eyes, playing the part. "Yes, sir. My apologies." This had become a daily occurrence. Management had noticed his slightly different accent, the careful enunciation from years in academia that he couldn't fully disguise, and used it as ammunition. "Where exactly are you from, Johnson?" Harrington had asked during a staff meeting, interrupting Marcus mid-sentence. "Because you talk like you think you belong upstairs with the guests instead of down here with the trash." The room had gone silent, other staff looking away in uncomfortable recognition of a familiar scene. "Chicago, sir," Marcus had replied simply. "Well, in Chicago they must not teach you how janitors are supposed to speak. Less talking, more cleaning." The pattern was clear and deliberate. When Marcus efficiently resolved a plumbing issue that maintenance had struggled with, his knowledge was treated as suspicious rather than valuable. When he politely greeted guests who addressed him directly, he was reprimanded for overstepping. Meanwhile, Marcus observed as Todd, a young white manager with barely 6 months' experience, received praise for the most basic competence. "Todd's got executive potential," he overheard Christine telling Phillips. "He understands our clientele." What Todd actually understood was taking credit for others' work. The elaborate floral arrangement that Eduardo's wife had created at half the florist's price was Todd's innovative cost-saving initiative. The guest satisfaction improvements that resulted from Amara's personalized service were Todd's enhanced customer experience protocols. The guests themselves were generally decent. A famous actress had thanked Marcus by name for retrieving her lost bracelet. An elderly businessman always acknowledged the staff with respectful nods. But these moments of humanity made the contrast with management's behavior even starker. One afternoon, Marcus was cleaning near the grand ballroom when Phillips led a tour of potential partners through. "The Pinnacle experience is about precision," Phillips was saying. "Every element must reflect excellence." Just then, Marcus's cart bumped a door frame, causing a minor clatter. The sound wasn't loud, but it drew Phillips' immediate ire. "This is exactly what I'm talking about," he snapped, gesturing toward Marcus as if he were exhibiting a problem to be solved. "Johnson, isn't it? This kind of disruption is unacceptable." "I apologize, Mr. Phillips," Marcus said quietly. "See what I mean?" Phillips turned to his guests. You can provide all the training in the world, but some people simply lack the capacity for excellence. The words hung in the air, their implication unmistakable. Marcus felt the familiar burn of humiliation designed to put him in his place, a sensation he hadn't experienced since his early days at Princeton. Later that evening, as Marcus disinfected the executive bathroom, he overheard Blake and Harrington in the adjacent office. "Phillips is stressed about this investor visit," Blake was saying. "Hale could make or break our expansion. If he's that rich, why hasn't anyone seen a photo of him?" Harrington replied. "Reclusive billionaires, man. Tech guys are weird. All that matters is he writes the check?" Marcus smiled to himself. That night, he made his usual call to Victor. "They're scrambling for your visit," Marcus reported. "But their preparation is all cosmetic. They're pushing staff harder without addressing any systemic issues." "And the treatment?" Victor asked. Marcus sighed. "Worse than we thought. There's a pattern of subtle discrimination that becomes obvious when you're on the receiving end. The lower-level staff is diverse, but advancement is clearly blocked. They're bringing in consultants to improve guest experiences while calling their own employees trash behind closed doors." He detailed the incidents with Phillips and Harrington, the contrast between how Todd was treated versus more experienced staff of color, the way promotions were dangled but never materialized for certain employees. "I've seen enough places like this." Victor's voice hardened. "Beautiful facades hiding ugly foundations." "It gets worse," Marcus continued. "I found salary spreadsheets while cleaning the HR office. White employees with comparable experience are making 20 to 30% more across every department. They're calling it market adjustment factors." Victor was silent for a moment. "Document everything. We're building a case here, not just making an investment decision." As Marcus ended the call, a text from Amara lit up his phone. "Emergency staff meeting tomorrow. Rumors of layoffs before the VIP event. Watch your back." Marcus set his alarm an hour earlier than usual. The game was accelerating, and he needed to be prepared for whatever came next. The Pinnacle Grand buzzed with frantic energy. In 3 days, Victor Hale would arrive to finalize, or reject, his $200 million investment. Management had descended into a state of barely controlled panic. "This entire floor needs to be spotless," Harrington barked, pacing the grand ballroom where the reception would be held. "If I see a single speck of dust, heads will roll." Marcus and the cleaning team had been working 12-hour shifts for days. The executive staff, meanwhile, seemed primarily occupied with selecting the right wines and planning their outfits for the big day. "Johnson!" Harrington's voice cut through the ballroom. "The chandeliers need cleaning. All 16 of them." Marcus glanced up at the massive crystal fixtures hanging 20 feet above the floor. "I'll need the hydraulic lift, sir. Maintenance has it for the day. Use the ladder. With respect, sir, safety protocols require." "Did I ask for your expert opinion on safety protocols?" Harrington sneered. "The ladder or the door? Your choice." As Marcus went to retrieve the extension ladder, he passed Eduardo slumped in a service corridor, face pale and drawn. "You okay?" Marcus asked. "My daughter has an emergency at school. They've been calling, but Harrington won't let me leave." Eduardo's hands trembled slightly. "If I lose this shift, I lose the attendance bonus. That's her textbook money." Marcus made a split-second decision. "Go. I'll cover your section and mine. I can't ask you to." "You didn't ask. I offered." Marcus handed Eduardo his coat. "Family first. Always." After Eduardo left, Marcus worked at breakneck speed, moving between his assigned areas and Eduardo's second-floor bathrooms. The double workload was grueling, but he managed to stay just ahead of the inspection rounds. By evening, Marcus had cleaned 15 of the 16 chandeliers. His muscles ached, and his hands were raw from the cleaning solutions. As he positioned the ladder beneath the final fixture, he didn't notice Phillips entering with a group of board members. "As you can see," Phillips was saying, "every detail is being handled with precision for Mr. Hale's visit. Marcus carefully ascended the ladder, crystal cleaning solution in hand. The chandelier gleamed above him, each crystal catching the light. Then disaster struck. The ladder, positioned on the freshly polished marble floor, shifted slightly. Marcus felt it sliding and compensated, but in doing so, a small amount of the cleaning solution splashed over the rim of its container. 3 drops. That was all. 3 drops that fell directly onto the pristine Italian suit of Gerald Phillips. The room went silent. Phillips looked down at his jacket, then up at Marcus, his face transforming into a mask of cold fury. "Get down! Now!" Marcus descended carefully, aware of every eye on him. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Phillips' voice was low and dangerous. "This suit costs more than you make in 3 months. I apologize, sir. It was an accident." "An accident?" Phillips laughed without humor. "Just like it was an accident that you were hired in the first place." He turned to Harrington. "Why is he using a ladder on my chandeliers?" Harrington stuttered. "The lift was—" "I don't care!" Phillips cut him off. "This level of incompetence is unacceptable. Especially now." Marcus stood straight, maintaining his dignity. "Sir, if you'll allow me to—" "Allow you? You don't speak unless spoken to," Phillips snapped. Then, to Harrington, "Get his final check and escort him out. Now." "Sir?" Marcus tried once more. "I was covering 2 sections because Eduardo had a family emergency." Phillips' eyes narrowed. "So not only did you damage my suit, but you're telling me another employee abandoned his post?" Harrington seized the opportunity to deflect blame. "Johnson has been troublesome from the start. Always questioning procedures, acting above his station. Clear out your locker," Phillips said to Marcus. "You're done." As security escorted him to the employee exit, Marcus passed Amara, who whispered, "This isn't right." "It's okay," Marcus replied calmly. "Some things are worth losing a job over." At the service entrance, Blake appeared, clearly relishing the moment. "Not so educated now, are you? Maybe next time remember your place." As the door closed behind him, Marcus heard laughter. Then Blake's voice. "Phillips is right, we're too elite for his kind." Standing in the alley behind the gleaming hotel, Marcus took a deep breath of the cool evening air. He pulled out his phone and sent a single text to Victor. "They failed. Spectacularly." Victor's response came immediately. "Everything's still on schedule. See you tomorrow." Marcus smiled as he walked away from the Pinnacle Grand. They had no idea what was coming. Back in his apartment, he finalized his report to Victor, every incident meticulously documented, every conversation recorded, every discriminatory practice catalogued. 2 weeks of evidence that would cost the Pinnacle Group $200 million and their reputation. As he packed the janitor uniform he would never wear again, Marcus thought about Eduardo, Amara, and the others still trapped in that toxic environment. Tomorrow would be for them too. His phone buzzed with breaking news. Reclusive billionaire Victor Hale to make rare public appearance at Pinnacle Grand tomorrow. Marcus laughed. The stage was set for the final act. Morning sunlight bathed the Pinnacle Grand's meticulously landscaped grounds as staff scrambled through final preparations. News crews had assembled near the entrance, their vans displaying logos from major networks. Victor Hale's rare public appearance had attracted significant media attention. Gerald Phillips stood at the center of the hotel's marble lobby, surrounded by board members and executives in matching dark suits. The tension was palpable. "Remember," Phillips addressed them quietly, "Hale is worth $18 billion. He's eccentric but brilliant. Whatever peculiarities he displays, we accommodate. This deal means international expansion, public offering, and bonuses for everyone in this circle." Harrington nodded eagerly. "The staff has been thoroughly prepped, sir. Only our most presentable people are visible today." Outside, Marcus waited on a park bench across from the hotel, dressed not in custodial uniform but in a tailored charcoal suit that fit his athletic frame perfectly. He watched hotel security turning away curious onlookers who had gathered to witness the billionaire's arrival. Several former colleagues spotted him but quickly looked away, assuming he was there to beg for his job back. Only Amara approached, coffee in hand. "Bold move coming back," she said, sitting beside him. "Half the staff is talking about how unfairly you were treated." Marcus smiled. "Sometimes you have to see things through to the end. They're terrified this investor will back out," she confided. "Phillips threatened to fire anyone who causes even a whisper of trouble today." "Interesting timing for your break," Marcus noted. Amara grinned. "What break? I quit this morning. Got tired of watching good people get stepped on." Their conversation was interrupted by a distinctive chopping sound that grew steadily louder. Heads turned skyward as a sleek black helicopter with silver trim appeared above the Manhattan skyline. Inside the hotel, Philip's phone buzzed. "He's arriving now," he announced. "But not by car as expected. He's landing a helicopter on our back lawn." The executives rushed through the hotel and out onto the grand terrace overlooking an immaculate garden designed for outdoor receptions. Hotel guests pressed against windows, straining for a glimpse of the elusive billionaire. The helicopter circled once, its downdraft sending carefully arranged flower petals swirling into the air. With remarkable precision, it descended onto the lawn, the pilot expertly placing it equidistant from the Italian fountains flanking the space. "That wasn't authorized," muttered Blake. "The lawn will be ruined." "Shut up," hissed Phillips. "If Hale wants to land a battleship in my lobby, we'll roll out a blue carpet." For 30 seconds, nothing happened. The helicopter sat motionless, its rotors gradually slowing. Then the door slid open. A tall man in a simple but impeccably tailored navy suit stepped out. His salt and pepper hair was close-cropped, his posture commanding. Despite being in his late 40s, Victor Hale moved with the easy confidence of an athlete. He surveyed the hotel briefly, then turned back to the helicopter and extended his hand. A second figure emerged, a sharply dressed woman with a tablet and an earpiece who took positions slightly behind him. Victor's chief of operations, known for executing his vision with ruthless efficiency. Phillips led his executive team forward across the lawn, hand extended, practiced smile firmly in place. "Mr. Hale! What an entrance! Welcome to the Pinnacle Grand!" But Victor didn't move toward them. His eyes had found Marcus, who now stood at the edge of the lawn. Without acknowledging Phillips, Victor walked directly to Marcus. The hotel executives froze, confusion evident on their faces. "Right on time," Victor said, embracing Marcus warmly. "Have I ever kept you waiting?" Marcus replied, returning the embrace with equal warmth. Phillips and his team stood awkwardly several yards away, their confusion morphing into concern. "Mr. Hale?" Phillips called. "We have a reception prepared inside." Victor turned, his arms still around Marcus's shoulders. "I'm sure you do, Mr. Phillips. But first, I believe introductions are in order." His voice carried effortlessly across the lawn. "This is Marcus Johnson, Princeton class of '02, Harvard MBA, former COO of Halcyon Investments, and my best friend since we were 10 years old." The blood drained from Philip's face. "Until yesterday," Victor continued. "He was also your janitor. Though I use the past tense because you fired him for covering a colleague's shift and having the misfortune of spilling 3 drops of cleaning solution." Cameras flashed as reporters, sensing a far bigger story than a hotel investment, pushed closer. "There must be some mistake," Phillips stammered. "We had no idea." "That was rather the point," Marcus interjected calmly. Victor surveyed the assembled executives. "For 15 years, I've sent Marcus into companies I'm considering investing in. He works entry-level positions, observes the culture, and reports back on how management treats those with the least power." His smile was razor-sharp. "It's remarkable how predictive that is of a company's long-term success." Harrington's mouth opened and closed wordlessly as he recalled every demeaning comment he'd made. Blake took a half-step back, remembering his parting words to Marcus just yesterday. "We're too elite for your kind." "Mr. Hale." Phillips attempted to recover. "Whatever you've heard has been taken out of context. We run a professional, Save it. Victor cut him off. We have a lot to discuss about the Pinnacle Group's future. Or lack thereof. He gestured toward the hotel. Shall we use that reception you've prepared? I believe you have some explaining to do. As they walked toward the entrance, Amara approached Marcus. You could have told me, she said, shaking her head in amazement. And missed that look on their faces? Marcus grinned. Not for the world. The grand ballroom fell silent as Victor Hale stood at its center, surrounded by the Pinnacle's executives, board members, and a hastily assembled group of reporters who'd caught wind of the unfolding drama. The investment reception had transformed into something entirely different. Let me be clear about what happened here, Victor began, his voice measured but carrying an undercurrent of steel. For 2 weeks, my colleague Marcus Johnson worked as a janitor in this hotel, observing how you operate when you think no one important is watching. Marcus stood beside him, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp as they moved across the faces of those who had belittled him daily. Before I invest $200 million in any company, I need to know its true character, Victor continued. The financial statements, the market projections, those are just numbers on paper. The real value of a business lies in how it treats people. Phillips shifted uncomfortably. Mr. Hale, while we appreciate your unorthodox approach, surely you understand that one employee's experience doesn't reflect our entire operation. One employee? Victor raised an eyebrow. Marcus wasn't the only one watching. He nodded to his chief of operations, who tapped her tablet. The ballroom screens lit up with images of Eduardo, Amara, and a dozen other staff members. Meet my real due diligence team. While Marcus was your janitor, I personally interviewed 37 of your employees across all departments. Their stories were remarkably consistent. The executives exchanged panicked glances as Victor advanced toward Phillips. Did you know that your head of housekeeping hasn't received a promotion in 8 years despite training every manager above her? Or that your minority staff earn an average of 22% less than their white counterparts in identical positions? Victor's voice remained calm, making his words all the more devastating. Or that you've settled 4 discrimination lawsuits in the past 3 years, all with NDAs to keep them quiet? The board members turned to Phillips with questioning looks. He tugged at his collar. These are complex operational matters that reflect a systematic pattern of exploitation. Marcus interrupted, speaking for the first time. Your beautiful hotel is built on ugly practices. You market luxury while treating your workers like they're disposable. Blake, unable to contain himself, stepped forward. This is ridiculous. You infiltrated our business under false pretenses. False pretenses? Marcus countered. My application contained my actual education and work experience, just downplayed. You simply assumed someone like me couldn't possibly be qualified for anything but cleaning your floors. Victor addressed the board directly. Ladies and gentlemen, I came here prepared to invest $200 million in your international expansion. That offer is now withdrawn. A collective gasp filled the room. You can't be serious, Phillips sputtered. Because of a few isolated incidents? Isolated? Victor laughed without humor. Let's review what I've documented. Wage discrimination, verbal abuse, unsafe working conditions, systematic blocking of advancement for minorities, and retaliation against employees who report problems. He shook his head. The Pinnacle isn't just failing its workers, it's a lawsuit waiting to happen. A board member raised her hand tentatively. Mr. Hale, perhaps we could discuss changes to address these concerns? Too late, Victor replied. The kind of culture you've built doesn't change with a few new policies. It requires new leadership. He glanced at his watch. Which brings me to my next announcement. The side doors opened, and Eduardo entered with several other staff members, all looking nervous but determined. The Riverview Hotel Group, Victor continued. Your biggest competitor has management that treats its people with dignity. I've just finalized an agreement to invest $250 million in their expansion, with one condition: they hire anyone who leaves the Pinnacle, starting with these individuals who helped expose the truth. The reporters scribbled frantically, sensing the story had just grown even bigger. "You can't poach our employees," Harrington protested. "Actually," Marcus interjected, "in New York State, non-compete clauses don't apply to workers making under $75,000 annually, which includes most of your staff. I'm sure your legal team can confirm that." Victor placed a hand on Eduardo's shoulder. "And since we're being transparent, I've arranged full scholarships for the children of employees who've endured documented discrimination here, starting with Eduardo's daughter at NYU Medical School." Tears welled in Eduardo's eyes as he shook Victor's hand. Phillips made one last desperate attempt. "The board won't stand for this kind of corporate sabotage." "Sabotage?" Victor's eyebrows rose. "I merely observed your true business practices and made an informed decision. Isn't that what smart investors do?" He turned to the assembled media. "And I believe these reporters would be very interested in the full documentation we've compiled." As if on cue, Victor's assistant began distributing digital press kits. "This will all be public within hours," Victor stated. "Your stock price, your bookings, your reputation, they'll all reflect what we discovered beneath the Pinnacle's gleaming surface." He checked his watch again. "Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a meeting with your former employees about their future at Riverview." Victor nodded to Marcus. "Shall we?" As they turned to leave, Amara stepped forward from among the staff. "What about the rest of us still working here?" Marcus smiled. "Check your emails. Every employee has received information about transferring to Riverview with signing bonuses and guaranteed raises." The executives watched helplessly as their workforce received real-time job offers on their phones. Phillips, face ashen, finally understood the full magnitude of what was happening. His empire wasn't just losing an investment. It was collapsing entirely. 6 months later, Marcus Johnson stood at the window of his corner office overlooking Central Park, the autumn leaves painting the landscape in rich golds and crimsons. The plaque on his desk read, "Marcus Johnson, Executive Director, Workplace Dignity Initiative." After the Pinnacle incident, Victor had created a specialized division within his investment firm dedicated to workplace culture evaluation, with Marcus at its helm. "The numbers just came in," said Teresa, his chief analyst, placing a tablet before him. "Riverview's occupancy is at 98%. Revenue up 34% since the renovation." Marcus smiled as he scrolled through the data. The $250 million investment in the Riverview Hotel Group had transformed the once modest chain into an emerging hospitality powerhouse. More importantly, it had created a workplace where respect and opportunity flowed regardless of job title or background. "And what about our former friends?" Marcus asked. Teresa's expression turned grim. "The Pinnacle Group's stock dropped another 12% yesterday. They've closed 3 properties in the past quarter. The class action lawsuit from former employees is proceeding to trial." The fallout had been swift and devastating. Within days of Victor's public confrontation, major clients had canceled conferences. Celebrity guests checked out mid-stay, unwilling to associate with the brand. Phillips had been forced to resign after leaked emails revealed his referring to lower-level staff in racial terms too offensive for board members to defend. "And the original Pinnacle Grand?" Marcus asked. "Operating at 40% capacity. They've cut rates to attract budget travelers, but the reputation damage is still spreading." She hesitated. "The new management team has been reaching out again. They want you to consider consulting for them." Marcus leaned back in his chair. They had their chance to do the right thing without being forced. His intercom buzzed. "Mr. Johnson, Eduardo Vasquez is here to see you." Marcus brightened immediately. "Send him in." Eduardo entered, no longer in a janitor's uniform but dressed in business casual attire, a visitor's badge from the Riverview executive offices clipped to his shirt. "How's the new facilities operations director?" Marcus greeted him warmly. "Still getting used to having my own office," Eduardo admitted with a grin. "But I came to deliver this in person." He handed Marcus an envelope. Inside was an invitation to the White House Conference on Workplace Equity, with Marcus listed as a keynote speaker. But what brought a lump to his throat was the handwritten note. Mr. Johnson, my father told me your story. I'm organizing this conference for my senior project at NYU. Your actions changed our lives. Thank you. Maria Vasquez. She's going to be an incredible doctor, Marcus said, voice slightly hoarse. Thanks to you and Mr. Hale. Eduardo's eyes shone with pride. 87 of us left Pinnacle that day. Every single one is doing better now. After Eduardo left, Marcus made a decision. He needed to see the Pinnacle Grand one more time. An hour later, he walked through the hotel's revolving doors. The once bustling lobby was quiet, the fresh flower arrangements replaced with artificial ones, the staff reduced to a skeleton crew. A few guests milled about, but gone was the exclusive atmosphere that had once defined the property. Blake, the former operations director, now served as general manager, a promotion born of necessity after the mass exodus of senior staff. He spotted Marcus immediately, face flushing with recognition. You've got some nerve showing up here, Blake hissed, approaching rapidly. Just observing, Marcus replied calmly. This time as myself. Here to gloat? You and your billionaire friend destroyed everything we built. Marcus shook his head. You did that yourselves. We just exposed it. We've implemented all the changes your people demanded, Blake said bitterly. Diversity initiatives, pay equity audits, the works. But it's too late. The damage is done. That's the thing about trust, Marcus replied. Takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair. He glanced around the faded grandeur of the lobby. But at least the people who work here now are treated with dignity. As Marcus turned to leave, he spotted Harrington, now reduced to working the front desk. Their eyes met briefly before Harrington looked away, unable to hold his gaze. Outside, the Pinnacle sign had lost several bulbs, the darkened letters a fitting metaphor for its diminished status. Across the street, a construction crew was erecting scaffolding around a building with a familiar logo. Riverview was opening its flagship location directly opposite its fallen rival. Marcus's phone buzzed with a text from Victor. Just closed another deal. New hotel chain in Chicago needs our evaluation before investment. You up for another undercover mission? Marcus smiled. What had begun as a simple investment assessment had evolved into something far more meaningful, a movement to transform workplace culture from the inside out. The Pinnacle had been just the beginning. He texted back. Always. But this time, maybe I'll try room service instead of janitorial. As he slipped his phone into his pocket, Marcus took one last look at the hotel that had underestimated him so profoundly. He felt no satisfaction in its downfall, only a quiet conviction that every workplace should be one where people could bring their full selves and be valued for their contributions, not judged by appearances or titles. The true victory wasn't in watching the Pinnacle fall. It was in helping others rise.